Hey guys, welcome back to All vs. Modern, a series I made up to vent a little bit about video games. And we finally reached the final episode. I'm gonna stop talking about this now. In this episode, I'm going to recap a little bit what we talked about in episode 2 and 3 and basically conclude our findings into what we categorize the video games as. So as you guys know, if you have watched episode 2 of episode 3, or you can go back and watch them, we approached the comparison between older and modern games on the four pillars of or four categories: hook, polish, pacing, and creativity. And when we talked about all of these things, we agreed that hook basically works with older and modern games. Both of them managed to do this very well, but modern games fell very flat when it came to polish and pacing. Creativity is still up there. Now, I want to preface something. When we talk about modern games, I'm not talking about the all games. We still have some very good games that came out post 2020 that were top-notch bangers, like Elden Ring or Baldur's Gate 3. These games were their own masterpieces. What you could say that. I mean, I don't want to go ahead and call them a masterpiece, but they're just about there. Also, I managed to separate the games between, not talk much about multiplayer games or shooter games, because they're less story driven and more gameplay. And what we concluded after all these talks, after we went through each category one by one and talked about older games, how they were created, and modern games, where they were lacking, I reached the conclusion that modern games really lost the essence of gaming, as I would like to say. Not just essence, but basically they're made without any soul. I hate to put it this bluntly, but it is what it is. And I want to just mention the games that actually stood the test of time. To this day, I think any one of us would play them, even though one of them I haven't played, but at the time, but even though its reputation was so far wide, spread so far and wide, that even I know about them. And those two games that I would really like to categorize as one of the top two games created of all time. I honestly, I would confidently say that these are the top games ever created, which is Half-Life and Fear. Half-Life and Fear, these two games are classic, and if there was any hall of fame of gaming, they would be in it. Well, of course, alongside Doom, alongside Duke Nukem, alongside all these games, but these two just, they stuck with us. I mean, not so much Fear for me as it is Half-Life, but I would be lying if I didn't say, if I had played that game back then, it would be one of the best games ever in my life, alongside with Half-Life. I really want to go back and just, I'm going to play them actually, because I've watched so many of those gameplay. Now, what separates Half-Life and Fear between them and other games? What gives them the edge? Is it the studios that created them? Is it the graphics? Is it the gameplay? Is it the story? Actually, yes. And I would say graphics, not against the modern games, but maybe back then. Back then it was something. So when you want to talk about Half-Life and Fear, you want to see the genius in making these games. When you talk, the tone that each game set, the experience that allows the player to feel something very new, unforeseen, and just traumatizes us basically into loving their games. And I wouldn't be the sole person to talk about them like that. I don't know how much money you want. I would bet you that a lot of people would say the same thing. The people that first experienced them, that had that first-hand experience when the games first launched. And I think, and if even a lot of players played the games afterwards, post 2020, they would maybe not like the graphics that much, but they would still love the games. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, but Fear has been hit with the standardization that happened with modern games. As we've seen in Fear, the first game was astonishing. The tense, subtle horror that we've seen with Alma going around and scaring the ever living crap out of us. The the eerie silence that we walk through these hallways, the environment is just so heavy that you are tense all game long. And unfortunately, it got dialed down as the games got released, as the sequels got released with Fear 2 and Fear 3, Fear 3 basically throwing that out the window. Which is unfortunate, and we have seen with a lot of games that's been going on right now. What the good thing is that Half-Life hasn't experienced that yet, because Valve, well, they kind of played it right. I mean, let's be honest here. And when you first play Half-Life, I'm sure Half-Life 1, a lot of us played it. We didn't understand what was going on. We were alone. We wanted companionship as much as possible to look for the scientists. Those of us that was really interested in the story, by the way. I'm not talking about the shoot first, ask question later kind of players. The solo adventure that you get as Gordon Freeman in Half-Life 1, and even sometimes in Half-Life 2, it is something that made us more attached to him than ever, because it was just us and Gordon all this time. Even though that there was other NPCs, there were enemies and such, but we faced the enemies together, us and Gordon Freeman. I think Valve's intention was to make us the players as Gordon Freeman, but we kind of felt like a new sense of camaraderie with Gordon. When he was alone, he wasn't actually alone. We were together, we were with him. And this feeling is especially hard when we played Half-Life 2 and we got through Ravenholm. Ravenholm was one of the scariest missions in Half-Life 2, and was perfectly made. The person that created that map is a horror genius. I mean, not genius, but he knew what he was doing. And it solidifies this feeling together we had with Gordon Freeman. As much as this, I have this to say about Half-Life, it's the same thing with Fear. You are the protagonist, but you feel like you're experiencing this with the person that you're controlling, and you get this sense of camaraderie with him because you're going through this emotional traumatic experience with them. They didn't mess up once when making these games. The gameplay was amazing, the atmosphere was amazing, the tone that they set really went through it for all the game, throughout the whole game. And that is something to say about these two games, about Half-Life and about Fear. And specifically Fear 1 and Fear 2, I think Fear 3 is honestly a victim of the standardization that happened with modern games. So this is it, guys. We've reached the point. We've reached it. Modern games do not suck. Not all of them suck, but they've lost the sole reason that a lot of gamers got into gaming. I understand that we have games like Valorant, CS2, or all of these shooter, Overwatch, all these games, all these shooter games that came out that made a lot of players gamers, but to actually be so entrenched in gaming, you have to first experience the games that were made in the 90s, in the early 2000s, for you to fully admire and fully appreciate what gaming is about. I mean, if you can take Elden Ring as an example of a modern game, that's how they were back then. Maybe not with the same intensity and difficulty as Elden Ring, but with the same environmental storytelling that Elden Ring and Dark Souls are known for, which is what separates the older games versus the modern games. It just keeps them up there. And whenever you see an old head like me or someone else that's basically still playing very, very old games, like I'm still playing now Divinity Ego Draconis, for God's sake, because it used to be something. We didn't have guides, we didn't have reviews, we didn't have anything of the sort to help us understand what this game is about, and yet they still managed to keep us in. And this is why I made this series. This is why I talked about so many of the technical aspects of the games. And I just want to show you guys that whenever a new game gets released, a new game gets talked about, I don't care about the hype. I don't care about anything. I just want to have fun in this and experience something new with this game. This is why when we see sort of anomalies with this game, I want to say, I just want to keep it as much on topic as possible. But when we see these anomalies in games, these added ideals or views that are usually seen in the real world, is when games go bad. But when we see something new, something unimaginable, when you look into this game and see, and it was created by a mind that has such a vivid imaginary and imagination and creativity, and can actually write and show you the message that he's trying to impart with this creation that he made. This is when gaming is at its peak. And this is why I will always appreciate role-playing games. I'll always appreciate single-player games, and I'll always appreciate games that gives you the that allows you to experience something you'd usually not be able to experience in your mundane life. Uh, it was such a pleasure to talk about older and modern games. It really got me back to the games that I used to play when I was a little kid, or when in my teenage years, and even now I am trying to find some older games to play and just rekindle my love for gaming, because modern games are just not what it is. Even if a game is beautiful like Baldur's Gate 3, even if a game was beautiful like Clair Obscur, I just want more of them. I want more. This is why I'm so looking forward for Divinity, because I'm sure Larian Studios will not fail. I'm sure of it. Alright guys, this is it for this series. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you think modern games still have a shot, still have a chance to get back to where things were with the older games. Let me know what you think. I want to hear some feedback in this video. I want to see if I have people that think the same way as I do, and that we have this connection we can build on. I'll see you guys in the next one. Ciao for now. Bye bye. Have a nice day.